And we're on. Hello and welcome to podcast episode 121 of Robodope Boxing, where the two Daves are joined by the host of the brilliant boxing podcast, Jay's Fight Talk. And as I call him, the Ring Magazine champion himself. Yes, it's Mr. Jay Murphy. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Jay, always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for coming back onto the show.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm not worthy. Thanks for having me, boys. It's an absolute pleasure to be here again.
Definitely. Well, when I call you the Ring Magazine, anybody that is new to the channel, by the way, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Obviously on audio feeds as well. 5-star review, as nothing else will do. I call Jay the Ring Magazine champion because it's the only belt I kind of recognize. Same with Dave. And obviously the event at the weekend was the first Ring Magazine event and probably one of the best events of the year. So Jay being the number one kind of makes sense, but we are giving him a lot of love.
Gonna make me blush here, boys.
That's what we do. But yeah, we've got Jay on for how long we've got him, but want to ask him about some fights at the weekend as well. Stacked boxing roster coming up, but we will jump into the weekend. Where's my banner, as I normally start off with? Here we go. The procedure was parliamentary. That's the only way I think we can start this episode, guys. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. We don't need to go into all the history of it's going to pop up with the fathers, the drug take and all that. But let's actually concentrate on the event, on the fights. David Holland, my good partner, actually was in attendance. So, Dave, what was it like? I mean, watching it on the television, it looked brilliant. I was kind of quite jealous of not being there, you know?
It was very good. And I've got to say, Jay, me and you spoke in the week and you mentioned about going. I said, you going, Jay? And you went, I wouldn't go if it was for free. And I said, that's what I said to you. I said, oh, my son would be excited then, sort of like tongue in cheek sort of thing. But
sorry, man.
The actual comment that you made to me and said, oh, it's full of people to be coked up, casuals and all that. I have to say, it's exactly what it said on the tin, mate. It was exactly that. And I've been to lots of events before, and I've sort of forgot about the sort of casual sort of thing. But how you described it to me when we were chatting in the week was exactly how it was. There was people in the toilets, fucking changing it up. There was people walking, and it was. And like I said today, just before we come on, there was a lot of people there that didn't have a clue why they were even there.
They're not bothered. They just go because it sounds good. Yeah. To say they went
exactly that. So they started asking me a couple of bits, and I could say a few bits about the fighters there because we do this sort of thing. And the next thing, they sort of and they're asking me questions: how old are they? Who have they fought? And honestly, it was like going back to boxing 101. You know, like they were just literally there to say that I've been there. Use it as a night to get fucking off their tits, have a good drink, and that. But they probably wouldn't even have remembered the result when they left the arena. Some of them, the state of some of them.
It's a lot of the people that go now. It's more for posts on social media for the to say that you've been, I were there, but they're not really interested. Whereas I'm one of them people that can sit and watch it on mute by myself in the dark. You know, I want to watch an event, and I'm not saying I haven't been. I've travelled the world watching boxing, but ordinarily I've got a vested interest, either my brother or my friend or Crawler or Troy. But for the big fights, honestly, I used to take my son, and I just spent all night worried about him and people bashing into him and fucking fighting and just crap. It's just not worth it. And then you have to spend a fortune to get decent seats, or you end up watching two ants, or you end up sat watching it on a screen anyway when you could be at home watching it on TV. So, you know, that's not me trying to poo-poo going to boxing. If that's your thing, go. But for me, it's more trouble than it's worth for me. I get a better viewing experience at home.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I sort of went there for it was my son's birthday. It was more the atmosphere and all that sort of stuff. But I could see that sort of thing. And you're right what you're saying about trouble and that, because it's sort of in the air. Although there wasn't much going on around me, and some of the guys around me were all right, you could sort of see it brewing in the air.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it was a good event. And like I say, I was fixed on the boxing. I was actually watching it, and people were trying to talk at me, and I was wasn't being rude because I'm not really rude, but I was sort of blanking them because I wanted to sort of see the fights, and all they wanted to do is talk. And they couldn't. So I had one point, there was a fight on. I think it was Chris Smith, and one of them around me said, "Who are these?" That's the sort of thing, you know, you're dealing with. Who are these two? And you think you're coming to the boxing, you know, you should be coming to the boxing. You should know the fighters. It should be all about the boxing. But
educate yourself a little bit, innit? You know, the ex-world champion there. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah, they didn't know either of them. But again, listen, there were some great moments in it. When Senior got out of the cab, the whole place erupted. So you know, it was good moments. But you just go back on what you said, Jay. You were totally right. It was the casual fight. It was the casuals event. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, he'll come back. I'll let him back in. What he just said there. And
it was one for the casuals. It was. It was 100% one for the casuals. It was.
And what you said as well, mate, about the people doing what they're doing in the toilets and there was fighting and things like that. I know a lot of people that go to Cheltenham. Now, a lot of these people, it sounds weird to say you've got casual fans going to horse racing, but you do. They don't know how to put a bet on. They don't know any of the jockeys. You don't have to know the jockeys, but they don't know anything about. They're just turning up, getting their Instagram out, putting it on Instagram or Twitter. I'm at the Gold Cup day. Look at me. Don't have a bet. Wanker, doing all sorts of different things. Not there for the event or the actual sport itself. So, yeah, I don't know what's happened to Jay. He's disappeared, but hopefully he will be back. I'll keep an eye on my phone. Oh, here he comes. He's back again. He's just popped up again. Here he is. I started to panic then.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Loud and clear, mate.
I could see you, but the volume was just repeating wasn't working. But here we are.
I was just saying there was some brilliant moments on the nights, like Senior getting out the car, coming. The place did erupt, and it was very WWE. It really was. It's for the theatre. The ring walk was amazing. Was simply the best. When I said it to my son, and a few people said, I think I've heard you say, he comes out. He got to come out to simply the best. There was some brilliant moments. To say that, I mean, like again, I'm not a casual, and I was there for the boxing, but to say you was there was a big thing. It was a good thing. And like I say, I enjoyed some of the fights on the undercard. I think there's some big shout outs to say, especially Aaron McKenna. I thought that was a fantastic performance in the game plan that he implemented. So there were some good moments on the night. Again, but yeah, going on to the casual thing, mate, you were spot on with that. And again, I've been to many fights before, and I've seen it, and I've sort of forgotten about it. But this sort of brought it back home, and I feel like the whole that type of event, and because of the surroundings on and it was everywhere, wasn't it? The way that they sold it, it made for people that ain't really into boxing to show up there, and when they do show up, they perform like the way they did. But yeah, there was a lot going on.
They wouldn't have sold however many tickets they say they sold. They're not gonna. It's those type of people that they need. The people that are going to spend $1,000 on beer and crap within the arena. The real boxing hardcores like me, I might buy a ticket, get a bottle of water, and just sit there all night. Yeah. I'm not putting money in the pockets, really. It's the casuals that will spend the money, that will buy the programs, will buy the T-shirts, will, they
were doing all that, and then just even talking about the massive bets they put on. I put hundreds on Conor to knock him out in 2, all that, and I was like,
dingbats. Screaming, knock him out. No,
exactly. Someone did shout that out. And as soon as they shouted it, I thought of you, because I heard you say that in the week. I thought Jay said that was going to happen.
Because you know that no real boxing fan like us would ever shout that. We're not going to shout that. But I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, man. I wasn't trying to put a damper on it. I was just giving you my own personal opinion on how I feel.
Not at all, Jay. Not at all. I've been to many myself, so I know. But this was one of the worst I'd seen for that type of thing since I've been going for years. But there was a lot of them out, and they didn't have a clue why they were even there, and they probably don't even know the result when they left. That was how bad some of them were.
Well, there were people leaving, so you could see on the broadcast that there were people leaving about round 6. Obviously not because of the fight, but I think they just wanted to get out of there because it's a bad stadium to get away from.
Yeah. The stadium started emptying before the result was even read. There was people all sat next to me. They all got up and started going down the turnstile, going down the steps to get out.
They're not fans, are they? They're not proper boxing fans.
And they didn't even know the result. And I looked around, I was thinking, what the fuck? Like, I look around and think, what's going on? Is we've been evacuated or something here? Because, mental, how do you leave your seat before you even know the result? But a lot of people did. But, yeah, like I say,
complete waste of money.
It was a good event for what it was, and there was some good boxing on show.
Incidentally, Dave, how much was a pint of lager there, mate?
Seven quid.
Not bad for London prices. What about a packet of wine gums?
It weren't bad, but it was the beer was minging. I sent a pint back. And it was dead as it was, and I sent it back to her. I said, I can't drink that. I said, there's not a fizz in that. And she went, I can't do anything about it. She went to pour another one for me, and it died. I said, exactly. The whole thing's dead.
Oh God,
that was
scandalous.
They think they could just give you beer for the sake of it, and you just. But then there was people that would have took it because they were so off their tits that they probably would have.
Oh yeah. That's the demographic. 90% of the demographic are people that don't appreciate a decent beer.
No.
not interested in the standard of food. They'll just take whatever shit the spoon fed, because they'll just down it. They'll just down it. That's that's the demographic. Unfortunately, that's the majority of the people that go to events like that now. It's more about a night out than an event as such for the fights. It's more about the prestige of being there and posting it on social media that I was there. That, like you said, probably didn't stay for the result, probably don't know the result, and ended up in someone's kitchen talking shite at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they probably think the fight's next week, the way they were going.
But what an event.
Yeah,
definitely. Let's just say that obviously delivered for Dave, delivered for me sitting at home. Well, I was at work watching it, by the way, and obviously Jay doing his thing watching it. But was it the right result? Was it the right result, lads? Unanimous decision win for Chris Eubank Jr. 12 rounds, 36 minutes of. I don't think a lot of us thought it'd be as rock'em sock'em as it turned out. Some of us obviously had different. Some people predicted Eubank Jr. stoppage, points. Conor Benn might, land the money shot. But for 36 minutes, to say there wasn't a lot of skill involved, I was thoroughly entertained. But my original question, boys, was Chris Eubank Jr. the right winner?
For me, yeah. I mean, I had him on the night, 4 rounds up, and when I've watched it back and tried to be a little bit more diplomatic with Scott, because I'd picked Junior beforehand, but I had picked him by stoppage. And I'd said the second his dad turns up, he's not losing this fight. He will win. He will find a way to win. I thought he'd get to Conor late, which he didn't. Nearly did, but he didn't. And when I've scored it again twice, I've got it 1-1-5, 1-1-3, but both times to Junior. I haven't given Conor Benn the fight at all. So I believe that the result was correct.
Yeah, I agree. I found it difficult to score because where I was and all what was going around me, I felt that it was close. I felt Chris Eubank Jr. had won, but I felt it was a bit closer. I don't know whether you boys noticed it from where you were, but obviously all 3 judges scored it the same, but they announced it very, very quickly. Now I know usually when there's no sort of scandal or there's nothing a little bit iffy that can happen, but it almost like the cards are out and it was announced very quickly after the fight, which I found a little bit odd. But the right winner was correct for me.
Maybe the judges wanted to get out, Dave. Maybe the judges wanted to get out ASAP.
Get back on the packet.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I predicted Junior to stop him round 7. I've always, since I said this to Dave, I've always felt that this fight, he was too big for this. We said this, though. Conor Benn was basically a blown-up welterweight. He was.
He looked massive in there, boys. Eubank Jr. looked massive. Sorry, Dave.
The size was always an issue for me. Size was always going to be a thing, and so I've never swayed from that. Credit where credit's due, though. He tried his heart. He showed a lot of heart, Conor Benn.
It was a dip. Sorry to cut you, but for me, if he'd have fought Junior without a rehydration clause, I think it would have been a totally. You could see that the jab that was landing in the first couple of rounds, there was no snap to it. It was too depleted for me. If he'd have gone in there fully hydrated, Eubank Jr., I think we would have got the ending we thought we were going to get, but he just didn't have it in the tank. It took everything he had just to keep in there. And Ben, look, played his part in it. Ferocious. Similar to his dad. Not as good as his dad, but very similar, just marauding. The problem is he's very basic in what he does. He comes out in forward and backwards in straight lines. He leaves his chin down as he comes out. If Eubank had had his head about him, he'd have just took a step back and caught him with an uppercut up the middle. But you could see he didn't have the mental clarity because it had taken him everything to get to 160.0005 or whatever it was, and then 169 point whatever the following 12 hours later. I don't think he had the mental clarity. I think it took everything he had just to stay in the fight. He was knackered. He was gone. His legs weren't there. It was. I don't want to see the rematch. Certainly not 160. No,
and Eddie Hearn talking about Chris Eubank Jr. going down even more weight down. Can't be doing that. Yeah, nah. I mean it was scandalous to do what they've done to him already, let alone going. And I remember from the first fight when he got to 157, he looked fucking like. He looked like a skeleton at that point, and obviously the fight got pulled. So I'm with you. He cannot go down any more weight. He can't even do 160 now. So and now they were trying to say that it was dangerous for Conor Benn. Oh, come on. So
he couldn't even make 160. He didn't even make 160, did he?
No, he couldn't make 160 with lead in his shorts. it was all stacked in Ben's favour. We know that he was the home fighter as such. It was whatever way they sell it. Eddie Hearn, that was Eddie. Eddie Hearn was the home team, and it was all stacked in Conor Benn's favour. And they depleted Eubank Jr. as much as they could. I think they'd have stopped his dad coming in there if they could have done.
They stopped Billy Joe. They stopped Billy Joe Saunders, didn't they?
No, Napa stopped Billy Joe Saunders. I think Billy Joe met his match there. But just, I didn't like that. He didn't need Billy Joe to try go in there and mess with Junior's head. They'd done enough. You know,
small ring, yeah.
Well. He gave them everything they needed.
Yeah.
I said to you, I didn't want. There was talk about Billy Joe going and looking at the hand wraps during the week, and I was thinking all that's going to do is slow the fight start because he's going to go in there. He's going to cause murders. So it was the right thing to not let him in there.
Yeah, and he's not part of the team. You're not just joining midway through the fight week, and because we know that he don't give a shit about Conor. What he wants to do is manipulate himself into a position where he gets the fight. Because I think that's what he's after. He's after a fight, and Eubank Jr. would be a big fight for him. But no, for me, they did the right thing. Stop him coming in, let him shout and scream and threaten people, and but it wouldn't have done anything other than, like you said, it'd have just delayed. They'd have been wrapping, re-wrapping, unpacking.
They would have let him wrap them all and then go no and make him take them all back off, and you'd have this back and it would have been going on forever. They would have delayed the fight. There'd have been all sorts of shenanigans. So it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of glad that the fella, I don't know whether you know him, I'm glad the fella stuck it on him and told him I guarantee you're not coming in. I like
that. Screaming at him, you're a no one, you're this. He's actually well known within boxing. I'm pretty sure the paths have crossed before, and I think Napa's said that he saw him the other week and his energy was completely different. He's a manager, I think he's an agent, he's a manager, he's a fitness coach, strength and conditioning, so he's not a nobody, he's a boxing guy. Billy Joe just didn't like it because he wasn't intimidated by him. He said, "You're not coming in.
Couldn't get past.
Simple. Not coming in. What are you going to do?" He's not going to push his way through. It's But no, I'm glad that they didn't allow him because I felt, and I said, that shows you the kind of fighter. Well, my missus watched it with me. Never watches boxing with me ever. I think the last one she watched was Froch Groves 1, and she sat down in here and watched it from first to last bell. I'd said to her in the week that it felt like they were starting to bully Eubank Jr. That's how it felt to me. They were bullying him. They'd done the weight, the ring, the gloves.
The fines, Jay. The fines.
The fines. $100,000 fine was ridiculous. The 500 grand fine, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the scales were flickering as well. So if they'd have allowed him, they said he was late. He wasn't late. He was there at the time they told him. They pissed around with timings to make it sound like he'd arrived late. They then didn't give him the allocated time to do what he needed to do to reweigh. Then when he weighed in at 0.05, they wouldn't let him reweigh again, and the scales were flickering. So it just felt like they were starting to bully him. And I'd said the morning of the fight, I said, I think they're going to bring his dad. No, I said, I'm telling you now, I wanted him to bring him in as Tina Turner started playing. I wish they'd have got him into the stadium without anyone. Obviously, people would have seen him, but I think he was in there for 20 minutes before they ran the VT that you lot saw outside. Yeah. That wasn't live because they never do it live. They're like when they do a backstage interview and they're wrapping their hands and stuff, and I'm like, he shouldn't be doing that 5 minutes before he's going in. It's not. It's a VT from 45 minutes ago. So I've been told that it was in there 15, 20 minutes. I wanted him to bring him out on the actual ring entrance because that would have flipped the stadium on its head, and I thought they were going to do that. But I'd said, if his dad turns up, there's no way Junior loses that fight. And I do believe that was the extra little bit of something that he needed because it felt hollow without his dad there.
Yeah.
The fight is made off of his dad's legacy. He had to
Both
be there.
dads, yeah. Oh, I can't hear you now. Can you hear him?
No, the sound's gone, Jay. Oh, go on. Yeah. No.
All of a sudden, you went off. You're in motion and you went off.
Can you hear us?
I think he can hear us. If you go and come back again, do you want to try that? Try that way. So for anybody that's on audio, Jay's disappeared now, so he's going to come back again. he's having so many sound issues. Here he is again. There's something buffering there. Let's see where he comes back. I just want to go into what you mentioned there, Dave.
Yeah.
About fighting at 160. Now, as we were doing our previews last week and everybody else's previews, we spoke about the Liam Smith fight. We spoke about his last fight. He's back again. There we go. I can hear you now. I can hear you breathing, so you're definitely back.
Can't hear you. It's not a good advertisement for StreamYard, this, is it? Jesus Christ.
I can hear you. Can't hear us, but I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us, Jay? Can you hear us?
No, I don't think you can hear us.
Can't hear a word. Not a word. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Coming through clear as bell. Yeah, I can definitely hear you.
I can't hear you.
Have a play around. We'll be here for a while, and then I'm saying all this. He can't hear me, so. Right, I'll try and message him on Insta as we're talking.
Yeah, no, going on to Liam Smith.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. Sorry, mate, to interrupt. That's what I was saying. Talking about the 160. Now, we didn't really speak about the Zero Meta fight, the last fight he had out. It wasn't really mentioned. All we spoke about that he got rid of his last opponent, bit of activity, etc. But I went.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Sick. Yeah, I don't know what StreamYard does not work on any of my Apple devices for some reason. It always not a good advertisement for StreamYard, is it? So we'll try this one instead.
Right, as long as you can hear us, or we can hear you. Yeah.
I can hear you fine, boys. Sorry about this.
That's right, mate. Don't apologise. It's modern technology, mate. Shite. I was just saying there today. We didn't really speak about the Zero Meta fight, the previous Eubank Juniors fight. We did speak about it in our previews, how he got rid of him, got rid of the ring rust, etc. But when you mentioned about actually fighting at 160, I went back and had a look at his weight cut. I went and had a look what he looked at on the scales. And do you remember he was dressed like an Arab sheik because he was out in Riyadh?
Yeah.
He looked absolutely terrible. And then when you go into the actual Zero Meta fight, it's kind of the same with the Conor Benn fight. The first couple of rounds, the pace is off. He's not landing anything. There's no pop in his shots, anything like that. Exactly the same as Saturday. And I think now, mate, I think you're right. Going forward, and I dread to think that they're going to do the rematch because of how much Wonga's involved. It's killing him. 160 is definitely killing him. And if he'd have got in that ring on Saturday night against a 160 champion, a Yanni Beck or a Carlos Adames, possibly even a Lara, they might have stopped him. They might have dealt with him a lot earlier.
I don't even think you'd need to go that far up the levels. I think Aaron McKenna would have beat him on Saturday night based on that
early part, Jay. Those first 5 rounds, you can see Eubank Junior's a lot slower. The pace is off. He's missing, and then he kind of grew into the fight as well, and then started doing well down the championship ends as well to kind of seal it. But yeah, talking about 160, mate. I fear for him a little bit. Now he's 35, and the way he's training himself.
Yeah, it's got to be 168. It has to be 168 for him. He can't do that at 160. He's not got it. You could see sluggish. His legs weren't underneath him. He was getting wobbled by shots that he's known for a granite chin. He's he's been stopped once, and that was sort of an anomaly.
I said that. You see that stoppage though, Jay, and I said this a day before. Obviously, he cut that weight for that first Conor Benn fight, and then he went in with Liam Smith, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I feel that had a major factor in that stoppage because, like you said, he had a granite chin. That dropping all that weight, putting it back, I think that had a massive factor in that fight.
I agree. At
that stage, because again, he's taken some shots. He's been in with some hard punches, some big punches in his career, and he's never been wobbled.
Never.
That is definitely a weight thing that he's gone through.
He was just totally depleted. It took everything he had just to get to fight night, and when you've depleted yourself like that, I'm not talking from experience, but I can only assume that you know yourself if you're overtired or lethargic or you can't think right, you can't think straight, and that's what I'm saying. He couldn't get out of positions that odd. Because look, Conor Benn's fundamentals are shit. Really, he's not that good. He can fight. The kid can fight, but he can't box. They're talking about him with Ennis.
Too much as well, doesn't he?
Oh,
He
mate,
loads up way too much.
If he fights someone like Ennis, I said about round 3, I said I wouldn't be surprised if he dislocates one of his shoulders because he would just winging and
over
and just
yeah,
missing. But it worked because Eubank Junior wasn't the Eubank Junior that we've known over the past few years, and Conor Benn's not that good. So it sort of met in the middle, and we got what we got on Saturday night, which was a fight. We just got a fight. You could have seen that outside the stadium in the car park. Do you get what I'm saying? Two guys just fighting each other, and that fight was won on guts and heart and cardio. It wasn't won on boxing ability. If Conor Benn goes anywhere near Stanionis, Ennis, he'll get murdered. I think Barrios, he's got a chance, but I think any of the other champions will murder Conor Benn.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What's next for Conor Benn? Like on that performance, for me, it's not worthy of a world title shot. I don't believe. He will get it off the back of his name, but I'm with you. I can't think of anything boxing related IQ that he does very well. Yes, he wings in shots, but I mean, it's very one trick pony sort of style, isn't it? Like I say, he'll draw you into a fight, and he can fight. But when you're stepping into world level, and against world level opponents, you need more than just that, because they're not going to stand and trade. They'll box your head off for 12 rounds.
I mean, I think somebody like Kell Brook could still beat him. If Kell could make 147, he'd beat him. I don't think he can. I think Kell would be 154. Norman, he's not beating any of them. I don't believe. He's missed every level out, hasn't he? At least Eubank Junior fought for a British, I believe. I think he did, didn't he? Beat Blackwell, didn't he, for the British? So at least he tried to go through the levels. Conor Benn's not done that. He's been fast tracked.
Don't forget the IBO, Jay. Don't forget the IBO, mate.
The fancy bin green belt that we all know and love. But no, Conor Benn's been fast tracked, and I think we found out on Saturday night that he ain't as good as what they told us. We've not swallowed it, but a lot of people have and have been bought into. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me a load of stick online. But if you look back, Nigel Benn wasn't that good in terms of fundamental boxing. Nigel Benn's one of my all-time favourite fighters. But in terms of boxing, Nigel Benn wasn't the best boxer, but Nigel Benn was a lot tougher than his son. And did have basic fundamentals. He boxed as an amateur in the army and stuff like that. So he did have the base fundamentals that he could draw back on. Conor Benn's not got that. All he's got is one gear, which is go forward and try to bash him out of there. When he can't do that, he hasn't got a plan B, and you saw that. Like, because we were saying, he tried till the end, but that's all he can do, because he can't all of a sudden go on the back foot. Conor Benn can't fight going backwards. He's absolutely useless. At one point, he nearly tripped over his own feet, backing off, because he don't know what to do, which is surprising, because Tony Sims is a good coach. But
I said that,
yeah, but if you watch it back and listen to the work in the corner, Tony's not telling him that much. I think Tony's another Ronnie Davis in there, where he's just a coach for having a coach's sake. I don't think he actually gives him tactics and a game plan. I think they thought they'd just walk through Eubank Junior. I think they thought they'd depleted him enough, they'd blast through him.
But I think that's how Conor Benn approaches every fight, because he doesn't work into a fight. He doesn't start off with a jab and work into a fight. No. He goes in he starts it exactly how he finishes it, and he's just winging.
Get the lead off.
He gets into a position so he can wing over the top. So there is you're right. There is no fundamentals there. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be a game plan. So if there's no game plan at the start, there's not going to be one halfway through the fight like changing it up, and that's where he's going to get found out.
Yeah, I think he's peaked. I think Conor Benn's peaked. All this, I mean, he reckons he won it by 1 round, which
I saw that.
He's been honest and true to himself. He didn't. I think his dad said as much as well. I thought they were going to give it a draw. I had backed the draw just on the off chance. I thought they're going to give this a draw, but I was glad to see for once them giving the decision to the person that deserved the decision, not doing what's best for the promoter or for the rematch.
The scoring was good all night, I thought, lads. I thought the scoring was decent all night.
Yeah, and I think the referees had a decent night as well. Victor Loughlin was a little bit shaky, but I think it was a good night all round for, like you said, judging and whatnot. And we got the right results in every fight, didn't we? We didn't get any shocks or wrong results, which is good. And it was a card that all went to decisions that I'm not complaining about.
Yeah.
Normally we would be sat here moaning because it all went to decision, no stoppages, but it kept me entertained.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. You spoke there about what's next for Conor Benn. We mentioned the Barrios fight. Now, according to Eddie, whether you believe what Eddie says, he could have had the Barrios fight next rather than doing this. Obviously, we're talking about legacy, and about legacy. It's about money. It's a money fight, so he's gone down the money route. If he can't get the Barrios fight next, looks like he might be doing a Pacquiao thing, but that's another discussion for another day.
Oh God!
Mate, but to keep it kind of in theme, if you like, or
That's
in
Pacquiao, by the way.
I know.
There you go.
But keep it in theme. The name that's being thrown out for Conor Benn next, if he doesn't go down the title route, is Harlem Eubank. What do you guys think about the Harlem Eubank fight? I think that kind of makes sense as well.
I wanted that fight instead of Junior. That was the fight I want. I thought that was the Eubank Benn fight to me. The similar, same weight division.
That's
similar
what Senior
age.
wanted as well, wasn't it? The Senior kept on about that.
Yeah, same age, same weight division. That makes more sense. I think Harlem Eubank could beat Conor Benn based on
his last
he's a better boxer. He's a better boxer.
Way better boxer. And his last performance against McKenna was pretty good, as dominant as he could be without a stoppage, really. A proper definitive stoppage. But he beat McKenna from pillar to post, and McKenna's of a decent level. So yeah, I think that is a fight. I don't think we'll see it. I think we're going to see either a world title shot or the rematch in September. Well, look, we already know that Spurs is booked for September. We've got AJ Fury, God forbid, Usyk, Dubois.
That's at Wembley, though, isn't it? That one.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. What I mean is they've got the big fight feel around September, and I know Spurs is booked. I think we might see AJ Fury there, and if we don't, it will be Ben Eubank 2 or 4 or whatever it is.
You're right.
Do you reckon if they announced Harlem Eubank versus Conor Benn now, based on what we've just seen, it would sell?
No.
No
one knows who Harlem Eubank is, do they? Let's be real.
No.
He boxes. We do, and I'm not dismissing him at all. Yeah. I rate the kid, but he boxes on Channel 5. I'll give you if I pull my missus in here now and said, "Oh, the Conor Benn's fighting Harlem Eubank," she'd be like, "Huh? Who?" She knows who Chris is. She ain't got a clue who Harlem is. So I think it needs more of a sell. It needs Harlem to turn up somewhere where Conor is and kick off a bit for the casuals to get involved. Yeah.
You know what you just said there, Jay? You've nailed it, because who was the kid Erdogan when he fought Erdogan the fight before, the 8-rounder, and there was an absolute stinker, Harlem Eubank on Channel 5.
Yeah.
Now I remember seeing a stat or a quote from Cali Sowland saying they had the most viewers for that fight on Channel 5, 1.5 million. Right,
liar.
But a lot of but the thing is though, Jay, a lot of people that tuned in to see Harlem Eubank thought it was Chris.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This wrong Eubank. Yeah.
So they say name value. Will the name value as well carry a Conor Benn versus Harlem going forward, as well as what we've just seen from Conor Benn, ideal, I being at 160. So yeah, you are right.
To a degree, I'm going to contradict myself as always, but to a degree it will, but nothing like we've seen Saturday night. They'd have to do it in an 0-2 or somewhere like that. Do a 20, 25 maybe. That ain't filling out Tottenham. Yeah. Because Harlem hasn't got the personality that Chris has got. Chris has got he's Mr. Vanilla, isn't he? Bless him. Yeah, he's not a shit talker. He's not, so no, I personally would like to see that fight, but I don't think it is a big enough fight at this time for the promoters to be bothered about it.
Yeah, you're probably right. And going forward with Chris, lads, if the rematch doesn't get made, what are we thinking for Chris Eubank Jr.? Yes, I know he's all about the money. He's never made any issue about that. He's always about money. So but you've got
sorry,
go on, Jay.
Sorry, man. I'm
that's all right. No, go.
Rude. My other fight for September is Canelo Eubank Jr.
But doesn't that clash with sync with the Mexican Independence Day? Is that not September?
It could, but I'm talking about having him over here for that.
No, that's Terence Crawford, though, isn't it? And he's supposed to be doing the Crawford thing.
I don't think that fight's ever going to happen, honestly. I don't think Crawford and Canelo's going to happen.
I don't know, mate. Looking at Crawford lately, he's not bulked up. He's looking big, isn't he? He's looking big, as in muscle wise, you know. Not like he hasn't got like the Billy Joe Saunders, does he? He ain't fat. He's like he's building himself up gradually for this fight. I don't know, you know. I might have to disagree. I think it might happen, you know.
I mean, I hope it does. I hope it does, but you know, William Skull ain't out of it yet. I mean, he was getting beaten up by Conor Benn and quitting after 7.5 rounds, so he might not be much cop at the weekend.
Mate, Nigel Benn took a lot of pleasure in telling people that, didn't he? And I heard people after saying, "Oh, you should be set of sparring for sparring." But he was big smiles. My son did this, and my son. I think, fucking hell, any more? Nigel?
He also said his son were going to iron him out in under 4 rounds, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yes. Nigel's not the Nigel that we all grew up watching. He's a bit of a dick in his old age, to be fair.
Would you guys entertain Hamza Shiraz at 168 next for him?
Yes.
Yeah.
I spoke about that fight previously when he was at 160. I think that's a good fight for both. For both, it's a test for Hamza. And it's a real test for Junior, and that could be a really good fight because Junior will be strong at 168, and Hamza is big at 168 still. I mean, he's massive
got a lot
at
to prove
160
as well, hasn't he? Yeah, he's got a lot to prove after that Adama's fight. He really has.
Well, yeah, we all know he lost that fight, and he knows he lost that fight. So yeah, he's got a statement to make, and that fight could very well be it.
The Edgar Berlanga thing came out of nowhere for Hamza Shiraz as well. I didn't really see that one coming.
I worry about that fight for him. Berlanga is good.
Hits hard, doesn't he? He's a big puncher.
I'd like to see what Shiraz's power's like up at 168, whether it's as hard hitting as what he is at 160.
Yeah. Interesting.
What was your favourite bit before we move on to some of the undercard fights? What was your favourite bit of that fight rather than the event? I mean, we didn't mention about the shorts. I noticed the shorts, same shorts as their fathers in 1990. Obviously, Chris having the white ones.
I've got a wicked picture. I'll send you I've got a picture of the dads fighting and the sons fighting in a very similar pose with the shorts. I'll send you that. The entrances for me.
I agree.
The entrances gave me goosebumps. As soon as I heard Dangerous and then Tina Turner, and the orchestra and the synthesizer and it was amazing. It was amazing.
They nailed that. They did nail that.
Yeah. I must admit, Dave, obviously you were there. When I heard the Big Ben chimes, I was watching at work and I got goosebumps, just the chimes, just at the beginning. Yeah. That must have been kind of epic as well.
The ring walls were amazing to be there for that. They were amazing for the atmosphere of that. I have to admit that was superb. And then, like
the problem is though, us three old twats got it. Half of the people in that venue didn't understand. So my missus went, "Why are they playing Ben?" And I went, "This is Nigel Benn." I said, "Any minute now, a flickering white light's going to come on and Conor Benn will be stood there." And she went, "How did you know that?" I said, "Because it's what his dad used to do." I said, they'll play Dangerous in a minute. Bam, it came on. I thought, they're going to do Tina Turner. They have to do. It was just iconic ring entrances, but it were lost on a lot of people.
It was, it was.
But it was brilliant, man. It was epic for me. The production of it was, immense.
Yeah. Agreed.
I bet just quickly before we move on, I bet Eddie's glad to see the back of him for now. He had
3-0. 3-0.
I mean, I had him on toast as a phrase being used by everybody, but that's what it was. He's had him on toast for every press conference. I've never seen Eddie look kind of not so much lost for words, but didn't really have an answer. And then with the when Chris Eubank Jr. in the week paid the money out, he tried to give an excuse, or we don't make a big fuss of the charity work we do. And then people started putting stuff on Twitter about all these charity events that he's been sponsoring the boxers and things like that. But I thought he's he's done really well. Chris Eubank Jr.
Chris Eubank Jr. played an absolute blinder. He's like you said, he's the people's champion, right? Nobody expected him. You saw Conor Benn's face when he heard the boos. You could see he didn't like that.
Yeah.
And Chris Eubank Jr. had turned it all full circle and became the sort of hero, because people aren't daft. As I said, you could see what they were doing to him, manipulating him, bullying him, just poking and prodding and just making it uncomfortable for him. Nigel and Connor's face when Senior walked in, they froze. And then Nigel Benn went,
That's
"Oh, I'm
true.
glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he's here." You're full of
Yeah.
shit, Nigel. You are full of shit, mate. Because if you saw at the beginning when Junior got in the ring, Senior went straight over to Nigel and they embraced. And he tried to interact with Conor, and Conor just turned his back on him and mugged him and walked off. And I thought, yeah, because you know now that it's more of an even playing field now that his dad's here. Because I believe that gave him the extra. I mean, he might have beat him anyway, but I believe that helped. It gave him that extra
push.
drive.
Yeah, extra drive. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're going to. Well, as I say, it looks like. Let's see what's happens with these two guys going on. It's highly likely we will get a rematch again. Eddie, rematch room as they call him. There is a clause there, I do believe, but
I think there was one on both sides, both contracts.
I
think they've both got the option to rematch. I think it's down to the fighters, isn't it? I mean, Conor Benn's going to want it because he's going to want to get back. For me, Chris Eubank Jr., sail off into the sunset, mate. You've done them twice and had a draw.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Jay, Canelo, if you can get the Canelo fight and just kind of, we know he probably won't beat Canelo, even Canelo at this stage of his career, but get the fight and see if you can beat a world champion.
Win a world title, yeah.
Don't lose your pen, as they say, like he did against Golovkin and all these other fighters. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And then go off into the sunset if he doesn't want to go now. But it is interesting, lads, going forward. Right, let's have a look at the undercard. I've written on the banner, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not give us Yard versus Arthur part 4. Nobody wanted part 3 anyway. I've got to be honest, boys.
I thought it's the best fight of the 3.
To be honest, with this one, lads, right, I was impressed. I found Lyndon Arthur, I said to Dave last week, I find him an odd fighter because the fights he's supposed to win, he looks rubbish. And I don't mean that disrespect. He does, looks rubbish. So why are you struggling? Why are you labouring? And when you see him in some fights, but when you see him in some fights where there's jeopardy there and he looks $1 million and you think, oh, fucking, that jab is so underrated. Probably by casual. We know how good that jab is. And it was effective on Saturday night. But for some reason, he kind of got comfortable with Anthony Yard's power and then started fighting on the ropes on the inside. Every time he flicked that jab out, he'd have success. But the output coming back from Anthony Yard was clocking up those rounds. And it came rinse and repeat, I thought, boys, after 6 rounds. And I kind of got a little bit bored. And I like Anthony Yard. I wanted Anthony Yard to win. But I felt Lyndon Arthur kind of threw it away a little bit. And because he was so dominant with that jab.
To win. I thought it was there at one stage. It looked like Arthur could take over. And it was there for him to win. Because Anthony Yard didn't look good at all. I'd said something in the week when I saw Tunde on the pads with him, and I thought they must be trolling because they looked awful. Did you remember that? It was missing.
I said exactly the same thing. I said that's a wind up. That is. He was doing the pads behind his back, and
he was missing them. And because normally they do that pitter patter, lions, and all that crap, don't they? But then when I saw Yard's performance, I thought, no, he's very similar to Conor Benn. He's an athlete and he's strong and he hits hard, but his fundamentals are crap. I think Tunde has been detrimental to his career.
I agree.
I don't think Tunde has developed him at all. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. No. I just don't think he's developed Anthony Yard. And Anthony Yard has all the potential to do really well, but he's just sort of plateaued. He got his deals, didn't he? Because he's got the look. So he got the Adidas deal and he got the Everlast deal and he got the money. And he's just never really gone on. What's he famous for? Going toe-to-toe and getting beaten up by world champions. I wouldn't want to be remembered for that. I think he's got more to give, but I just think that Tunde's held him back. If he'd have gone to Sims or McGuigan or even Ben Davis and Adam Booth, there's loads of places that could have gone in and around London, so he don't have to leave, because we know he loves London and being around and being the man. But I just think the gym where they're all fawning over him and shouting lions and wiping his brow for him and that, I don't think he's done anything to deserve that kind of treatment yet. I think there's blown too much smoke up his ass and it's been detrimental to his growth. I think Anthony Yard's got 2 or 3 gears left, but he just doesn't know how to get into them because they're not telling him. Tunde, if you listen to his corner work, he don't tell him anything. He just doesn't tell him all.
You took the words right out of my mouth. All you get out of him is lines in the camp. You don't get any sort of thing that makes him go out there and change it up in between rounds, try something different, work on this, do that. It's all just
There you
lines in the
go.
camp.
There you go. That's the other one he keeps saying. There you go.
Come on. Well, what I saw, so when Arthur started staying on the ropes, for me, I would have fainted. Not me, obviously, personally. I'd have been on my back, twitching. But I wanted Yard to feint him low, take a step back to draw Arthur out, and then throw your right hand. But all he did is just stood in front of him, and Tunde's shouting, punch, punch. Right, we get that. That's what you do in boxing, but give him some kind of tactic. Tell him what he needs to do. We could all see what he needed to do.
Yeah.
And Lyndon Arthur were playing into his hands at some stages, but it was like Yard just didn't know what to do. He's just not good enough. He's not being taught well enough. He's not good enough.
He was smothering his work, Jay.
Yeah.
Smothering his work. You know, weren't getting, like you said, weren't taking a step back and throwing shots. He was just straight on it. They were leaning on the ropes. It was all just up close. And like I say, it was messy. But like we've always spoke about Yard's engine. You know, like he's a muscly guy, isn't he? You know, like for me, he's a 5-round fighter. Yes, he can do the 12, but for me, he doesn't do the 12 great. You know, I think he, for the first 5 rounds, I think he's dangerous. And then like I said there, then he starts to smother his work, and everything beyond that becomes messy, and it looks odd. You know what I mean?
I think someone like Buatsi beats the dog shit out of him.
I'm just going to say that. Do you reckon he's licking his lips now?
Buatsi's not putting his back on the ropes and having any of that. There'd be too much lateral movement, and it boxes his head off for me.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, it'll definitely fancy that one now, boys. Joshua Buatsi. Right. Has Father Time finally caught up with Beefy? That's the question there. What I saw on Saturday. The Eubank second fight, right? The Eubank second fight with Liam Smith. Now, I was adamant that he was injured. He had a bad back, bad knees, bad ankles, flued up, etc. Because he was stuck in the mud. He couldn't set his feet. He couldn't walk anywhere. He couldn't throw his shots. There was no pop on it. So I kind of gave him a bye. I'm a Beefy fan. I was cheering for him on the weekend. I wanted him to win against McKenna. I saw exactly the same performance that he did against Eubank Jr. Part 2. And the first fight, I put it down to injuries. Now I'm not so sure, guys. I think I'm never called for anybody to retire, but those are 2 identical performances. And the only difference in this fight is Aaron McKenna couldn't put him away, whereas Eubank Jr. did. I think it could be time, lads.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm biased. I know Paul and I know Stephen, so I don't really know Liam. I've been around him since he was young, but I know them. So, you know, I want them to succeed in everything that they do. I've known Paul a long, long time, since the amateurs, since, you know, he was in the England squad with my little brother. So I really want him to win, and I picked him at the weekend through bias, not through common sense. I know how good McKenna is, and McKenna turned up. But that wasn't Beefy. That was Liam Smith that turned up. And Liam Smith ain't Beefy. Liam Smith is a 37-year-old fighter that's had a world title, fought some of the best, Canelo, Munguia, the Russian kid that robbed him against his name.
Kurbanov, yeah.
There you go. So, but he's 37. What we saw on Saturday night was a decent 25-year-old beat a past his prime 37-year-old. That's what we saw at the weekend. You can't gauge much. I know you've got to give Aaron McKenna his props, but I don't believe he does that to Beefy 3-4 years ago. It's a totally different fight. So yeah, I'm on the same page. I believe that Liam's done enough to walk away with his head held high. There's no shame in that loss. He didn't get battered as such and busted up. He just got outworked by a younger, fitter, stronger guy. And for me, I don't want to see Liam become a name on resumes. He's done that at the weekend.
Yeah.
Time to call it a day for me, Liam.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think he found out that you know that maybe this is it. You know, but he probably went into this fight thinking he's got one more roll of the dice. He can take this kid while he's on his way up. He's probably got enough to walk him down and stop him, which is what I thought. I sort of got smoke screen into thinking he's got one last go at it. It didn't take long to realise that he's not. You know, he walks in with a high guard, but he couldn't. There was too much movement for him. You know, so he couldn't get his jab off, and it was.
I changed my mind on the ring walks. You know, when they played that My City, My Heart, the Liverpool song.
Yeah.
And he turned his back and he locked eyes with Paul. And you saw Paul giving this big beaming smile, and it felt like Tasha Jonas's entrance against Price, where they knew look, we'll have a roll of the dice, but there's a good chance that this is it.
Yeah.
And it felt like that. It felt like he was soaking it all in. I don't mean he turned up to lose. I meant it turned up with a little chink of doubt that there was a possibility that he could lose.
Yeah.
So embrace it, enjoy it, because this might be it. I knew from before a punch was thrown, I thought, nah. Right up to that point, I thought, as you had, he might have this performance in him tonight, but he just didn't have it.
No,
Bless him.
Yeah, I totally agree. But to take nothing away from Aaron McKenna, I think he boxed very, very well.
Really good on to keep going on the back foot, switch it in. Because I'd said about 5 rounds in, you can't do that for 6 rounds with someone like Beefy in front of you. He didn't really have Beefy in front of him, did he? He sort of moved him around, switch hit. Really good performance. I'd like to see him tested next, if that makes any sense. I want to see him in a fight with someone a bit younger, a bit, further
domestic,
up
Jay. Domestic or internationally?
Internationally for me. Who was the domestically? I'm trying to think who could he fight domestically?
Denzel. I don't Denzel. He's 160 Bentley.
Yeah, but Denzel's what? WBO number 1. He's up there, isn't he? He's in top 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's in top 5. Yeah.
I don't think he's got. He won't take a risk. I think it's too much of a risk for Denzel is McKenna. I think.
Again though, going back. Dave was texting me during this fight. He texted me, didn't he? Say what's the game plan? Because he did say all week, well, I'm going to walk him down. I'm going to stop him late. 3 or 4 rounds, right? You need to start doing something now, Liam. I know you're plodding, you're throwing the odd shot here and there. 6 and 7. No, you've got a lot of ground to make up now, mate. Let's go now. Go into the championship rounds, and you see
didn't have it.
Didn't have it.
Yeah, but he's gone for every round thinking I'm going to catch him. And in that you're just getting moved around the ring, throwing the odd shot. There's too much movement from McKenna. And he caught him with a lovely body shot in round 12. Done well to get up from that. It was a beautiful
He did.
shot.
I thought that had done him, to be fair. It took a lot for him to get up. But great performance from... Look, as much as we've said Liam's washed, a washed 37-year-old Liam Smith gives 80% of the division fits and farts. We're not saying that McKenna got a gimme. He had to work for that victory. And that'll stand him in good stead, because Liam still could beat a lot of middles, but I'd rather not see him fight again.
No.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. That's a little bit of a coming out party, if you like, really. Coming of age for Aaron McKenna. And this was, for me, lads, Vidal Riley against Chevon Clark. Now, I backed Chev to win. I thought Chev would get him down the stretch. Vidal Riley's feet. They were talking about it on comms, and I was seeing exactly the same. The way he was setting his feet, the way he was getting in and out of range, just purely with his feet. His feet fucking won the fight. I thought it was brilliant. Now, mate, I've said on there, I like Vidal Riley. I like the fact that he was done a bit as a kid, as an amateur. He didn't go off the rails, but he went down that kind of influencer YouTube / misfits. Could have gone there and made a shitload of money, but said, no, I don't want to do that. KSI is my mate, but I'm not interested in that. I am a boxer. I'm going to work my way into this position, and I'm going to beat X, Y, and Z and do it that way. Now, he's got better and better and better every time we've seen him. And this fight on Saturday night, I mean, I honestly thought Chev would get to him. The body shots, the power, working him down. Again, complete shutout. Vidal Riley, again, a coming of age fight, really, really good. Now we've just spoken about McKenna. Who does he fight? I think Vidal Riley can start challenging decent international operators as well. He's already the best in Britain, and he proved it on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know who the 2 guys were, and you'd have said, right, one of these has represented their home nation at the Olympics, you wouldn't have said it was Chev Clark. The way that Vidal Riley was moving in and out, was slick head movement, fast feet. He looked like an established champion that had represented his country at the Olympics. Chev looked void of ideas. I think he thought that it was just better than Riley and thought he'd get to him. It felt like he was waiting for something, and it was a bit similar to like we'd said about Liam Smith in the previous fight, waiting for something to happen, and it just never came. I am surprised that the stadium let him play London Forever on his ring walk, to be fair. I thought they'd have put a stop to that, but they didn't. can I say that I was impressed by Riley but disappointed by Clark? Does that make any sense? I just don't think Clark played the part in the fight that he could and should have done. I think he gave a lot of the rounds to Riley by playing into his hands, by just following him and letting Riley just dip out under 2, 3, 4, score and gone. And Chev just followed him.
To be fair, Jay, there was a lot of slipping going on in that graphics in the middle of the ring. But
I think you
for both boys.
Yeah, I posted something about it. I said someone's going to do an ankle or it's going to affect the decision. It was awful. I think that they'd stuck it on rather than painted the canvas, which is it's dangerous. It was
quite silky,
but I don't know whether they did something to it or I know there's an old trick. You put cola, put soft drink on your boot soles, and they get sticky. That normally helps.
They had someone wiping that between every round.
Did they? Right. Okay. Because it was horrendous. There
was a bloke on his hands and knees before every round and wiping.
Right. It was a clinical performance, let's say, from Vidal Riley. He went through the gears. You could see him going through them as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, getting a bit faster as it went on and sitting down on his punches a bit. But as I say, I thought Chev were better than that. I don't know whether Riley was just too awkward for him and he just couldn't get to grips with him. But yeah, I expected more from him, Clark.
With Chev Clark, I find him really strange because, like you said there, he was Olympian, he's an amateur, but look at him, you'd never know, and he doesn't revert back to type. You know, like you've been boxing all your life as a kid. Usually it takes you a little while to become a pro, you know, and box like a pro. You always seem to have the fundamentals of an amateur where you're doing bits and pieces where you're stepping in and all that sort of stuff up on your toes. And then as you progress in your career, it sort of dwindles out and you become more of a professional fighter. He looks to me like he doesn't have any sort of amateur pedigree or fundamentals. He just sort of he relies on one punch. I don't know whether someone's gaslighted him to think that he's this monster power puncher where he thinks eventually I'll get you, and he's void of any sort of boxing IQ. I find him a strange one because he doesn't see. You know, if it's not working, when you're an amateur, you know yourself, Jay. When you're an amateur, you can do different things. You know, you can box on the back foot. You're taught all these things as you're growing up. And for me, he doesn't seem to change it. He's very one-dimensional, Chev Clark, for me at times. You know, and like you said there, Vidal Riley's showed a little bit of boxing IQ, and he's beat him easily. And for me, he just doesn't change things up, Chevron Clark. He just sort of what I said earlier on, like a one-trick sort of pony. But when it's not working, he doesn't do anything different. He's always trying to load up, and for me, that's why he gets beat.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't change anything. He just keeps doing the same thing and hoping that it'll work, and it just doesn't. And we've seen that in his last 2 performances. Let me just put a light on, boys.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dave. You said that about who's telling him he's this kind of monster. Because question I was going to ask you two boys, we saw it with Josh Kelly under Matchroom. Now we saw Chevron Clark go over to Monaco and fight for a European title. Was the favourite that night, got dropped, and he came back strong, but he lost the fight. Now he's just lost his British title. Do you think Eddie will have patience with him because he's turning out to be the fighter that he wasn't that he was promised? Well, or he wasn't promised, should I say? And with Josh Kelly, he got bashed up by Avanassian. He was supposed to be the next kind of most, the British kind of Floyd Mayweather, if you like, and he dropped a lot of shit. I don't know. There's something that tells me that Eddie won't. He's not enjoying the Chevron Clark performances of late. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, Eddie's, and he just dropped. Didn't he have Junaid Bostan?
Or was he gone? Has he dropped him?
Gone. He's with Conlon.
Wow.
Conlon Boxing announced him. There you go. That was my reaction because I thought he was a great prospect.
Wow. After that Fawaz fight, wasn't it? When he was supposed to beat Fawaz. Oh shit! I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, gone. He's with Conlon. Anyway, so I think he'll get one more. I think he'll get one more because he sells a lot of tickets. They could have put Riley and Clark on the Copper Box, for example, maybe. And sold, what is it, 8,000 or 9,000 there, something like that. 5. It's at least 5, isn't it? Something like that. But look, I think he'll get one more. I think he'll get one more fight. And I think if he loses that one, I think we'll see him on Channel 5. Maybe.
Yeah.
Lastly, boys, I've written there Brandon who. Now, on last week, Jay, me and Dave went into a little bit of a rant talking about Brandon Glanton. Now, we did say we don't want to go over everything we said last week. Going into this, we've all kind of, not just us, but the boxing community have moaned about the level of opposition Joe Batai has been getting. If it's not domestic, it's bin man level. It's rubbish. We all know we want the Zerdo fights and wins all the belts. Yeah. This guy has never been mentioned by pundits, paid pundits, pros. I don't know where he come out from. He's a guy that was plonked on this card, and he's this big killer that's been avoided. It went over to Russia, beat someone in the 11th round in Russia, all this kind of jazz. And we done a preview on Lenny Apero 2 weeks ago. Didn't know anything about him. Steve was very highly ranked with the WBA. Went and watched his fight over in Florida. Doesn't look like the guy that should be ranked number 4. And going into this, I thought the disrespect going to Chris Billam-Smith was disgusting. It was like Dave said it. I did. He went into the Zerdo fight. Yes, he was outboxed and he was beat up. No shame in that whatsoever. But he's as tough as they come. He was a world champion for a reason. He lost to the best. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I watched Brandon Glanton on Saturday night, the word I'd use for him, boys, is limited. He's a very, very limited fighter. And it was in his favour. He had the 18-foot ring. So he was supposed to come forward, throw all these hooks, beat up Chris Billam-Smith, stop him and make an announcement. That is why I'm ranked so high with all these sanctioning bodies. I saw the complete opposite. I saw a guy that was slow on his feet. It was one-dimensional, bit like Chevron Clock, just throwing hooks, no head movement, no ideas, run out of steam, didn't know what to do. Chris Billam-Smith, if we think he's overachieved, if we think he's a very good domestic level fighter, but did get the world title, he was levels above him. And I was cheering for him. I was clapping for him. I wanted him to knock him out, especially over the comments that he made. But to be fair to Brandon, guys, he did come out in the weigh-in and say, look, I apologise for the brain damage comments. I didn't mean it. I was caught up in the moment. So fair fucks to him there. But yeah, Jay, I thought that the disrespect that went into the Chris Billam-Smith fight was unnecessary. I didn't understand why. Now I see that Brandon Glanton isn't that guy. And he definitely doesn't trouble Joe Batai, put it that way.
Absolutely not. It looked like a sparring partner. It looked like they'd flown a sparring partner in. He wasn't trying. He was happy to get smacked in the mouth and not do anything about it. He just followed Billam around like a punch bag. I personally disrespected Chris Billam-Smith, and I picked Glanton to win. Not because I was bought into the hype so much as Glanton. I thought we'd seen the best of Chris Billam-Smith, and I thought that last performance had taken a lot out of him. And I thought, if this guy's as good as they're saying he is, then Chris Billam-Smith's in trouble. Chris Billam-Smith ripped up the script and just won every round. Tough fight, Glanton, as I said, like a good sparring partner. Not going to put you in any trouble, but he'll give you rounds. I was disappointed in Glanton because he talked a good game and then turned up and did absolutely nothing. It's just made me more intrigued to see what's next for Billam-Smith.
Yeah, I'm with you with the old Glanton thing. Like I said, listen, if he comes in and says whatever and does what everyone says he's going to do, because I've been watching it all week, people tipping him to win, knockout, and it'd be a great addition to a shallow pool in the cruiserweight division. We need more names. So if he came in there and made a statement, it'd be great because you've got your Zerdo and you've got Batai, but you haven't really got anyone else. They're the two biggest in there. And then you've got your Billam-Smiths and everyone kicking up. But it needs names. So if Glanton was going to come in and do that, great. It's a great addition. But he didn't. And you're right. Was he leading with the head a fair bit as well? Because it was a bit of marking up on,
he was pushing up with the head,
on Chris Billam-Smith. You could see his face was a bit busted around his eyes.
Yeah.
But Chris Billam-Smith, it was a glorified spar. I have to admit. It's a shame really because that division does need names. I didn't want Chris Billam-Smith to lose, but it wasn't the killer that we were expecting. We hadn't heard of him before. People were talking about him knocking people out, and I thought, it didn't quite come to fruition,
No, I thought the way they were building him up, he was going to come over here, put a beating on Billam-Smith, and announce himself to the division.
Yeah.
He just went out with a whimper, an absolute whimper. He did nothing. Nothing at all.
Would you give Glanton to Vidal Riley next? I know we was kind of just poo-pooing him, but when you said about international fighters going forward, that's probably a silly fight to make, just seeing the masterclass we've seen for Vidal Riley. Would you go a Glanton route or anything like that, Jay?
it depends what his ranking is. I mean, if they're looking for fast track world rankings, then yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, based on Saturday night's performance, Vidal Riley can get in and out and smack him and get straight in and out. No drama. I think he's faster on his feet than Chris Billam-Smith. A lot faster on his feet. Doesn't stand in front of you as much as Billam-Smith's happy to stand and trade with you. Whereas I'm not saying Vidal's scared of that, but I don't believe that's where he benefits. He benefits from getting in and getting out, moving around and making you follow him. Whereas Billam-Smith will meet you sort of in the middle, and then you push him back, he'll push you back, sort of thing. So if Glanton comes with that stationary movement again, Vidal Riley will box his head off.
Yeah, agreed.
So for me, if they can make that fight, make it. I mean, like you said, cruiserweight is sparse. There's not many big fights and big names. So, let's get Vidal Riley moving, man. He's proved that he's the best over here. So,
And that's it. And Glanton's done nothing in that fight to make it feel like there's any jeopardy there. Vidal Riley's got anything to worry about, for sure, So, I just
wanted to say as well, I forgot we mentioned Vidal Riley, his relationship with his dad. I like the way he listens to what his dad says. Now, you've got issue, Dave, with father-sons together, haven't you? You don't like the link up. Sometimes it doesn't work. But I like what I see from those two. Is it Derek? Is it Derek Riley?
That's it. Yeah, Derek Riley. Yeah.
I like the link up.
There's some special father and son teams like the Calzaghes and whatnot. I just don't like the Teofimo Lopez's and the Haneys and that sort of narrative. But if they're in there and they're being productive and they're giving the right instructions and they're not taking all the limelight, I'm all for it. But Bill Haney, loves a camera.
What, you don't like big bad Bill from the streets, Haney, no? Fucking hell.
He'll be coming after me now.
Fucking hell.
Right. Just one more, ladies and gentlemen, before I ask Jay his thoughts on some fights coming up. It was over in the Philippines on Sunday. Lasted 3 rounds. I've written there, John Jett doesn't take off. That's a poor attempt at another joke from me. But we did mention it a couple of weeks ago. It was called off. First, it was supposed to be in Cambodia. Then it was in the Philippines. It was in the Philippines on Sunday. I know Jay saw the whole 3 rounds for how long it lasted. Not so much about John Jett because he was a poor level of opponent, but more on Marlon Tapales, mate. What did you make of Tapales? Because that's his first fight since the Inoue beatdown, wasn't it?
I mean, look, he did what he had to do. He turned up. He looked like he'd shaken off any doubt that he may or may not have had since Inoue beat him. Didn't look scared to engage. Was on the front foot. Was really positive. I was impressed by what I saw. It didn't look like the defeat had affected him mentally. Definitely not physically. Mentally, it hadn't. And he just did what he was meant to do, I believe. I was impressed by it.
Yeah, I liked some of the shots that he threw. There was some really good eye-catching work there. I liked it, and I hope that this is the springboard now for him to come back and be in some big fights, because he is a good fighter, very very good fighter.
Very good.
He's exciting, explosive, very good. I'm with you, Jay. I liked some of the shots that he was throwing there. They were really really good.
Shot selection was really good. He wasn't hesitant, which tells me that he's put that defeat well behind him. He didn't seem to be hesitant about throwing his shots, and he was leaving himself out there as well, exposed. So he was not necessarily worried about what was coming back. Whether he thought he could get out of there quick enough or whether he wasn't worried about John Jett's power. But no, I like what I saw, and similar to you, mate, I'm excited to see whether this is the springboard for him to come back and get himself back in, in the mix.
Yeah.
But with this, guys, I mean, he was a world champion, lost his belt to Inoue. While Inoue is still down at super bantamweight, holding all those belts, what direction do we put him in? Now, me and Dave spoke about this, Jay, and I like your thoughts on it as well. How on earth we haven't got Marlon Tapales versus Casemiro, 2 Filipino kind of superstars, if you like, going toe-to-toe in Manila? I do not know how that fight hasn't come about, but as well as that, just say, for instance, Inoue is going to stay down at super bantamweight for the next year and a bit of 2026. Where do we go with Tapales? He won't be able to win a title, but to keep himself relevant, you've got MJ, who he's already beaten. I suppose Luis Neary is another name, but those 2 points are made there. What would you do with him?
Nakatani, maybe.
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? That's tasty. And to be fair, you've made a good point there, because that could be Nakatani dipping his toes in at super bantamweight before he does Inoue, So I didn't think of Nakatani.
That's why you've got me here, boys. Not just for the looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody like that for me. Put him straight back in there, mate.
I don't think he needs a rebuild for people we don't know. He's had the Triple J. No, I don't think he needs another. He doesn't need another one of them. I think he goes in with a name now. I don't think they need this rebuild where he's doing all these type of fights and 3 or 4 fights down the line, and it goes in with someone meaningful. He's had the John Joe Jet now. Let's go, and let's go in with someone because he's an excellent fighter.
He'll hold his own with any of them. So Nakatani for me, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great. If that got announced, that'd be great.
What about Casemiro? Why do you think that's never happened? Because we said about certain countries have an obsession with certain when they've got super like Philippines is kind of like a third world country. So when Pacquiao used to fight, I think there was a statement from the Manila police said the whole country shut down for 36 minutes, however long it lasted. Yeah. Then the crime rate went back up. I'm just surprised that these two guys have never met, mate. Bit odd. They're both bang into their 30s as well, you know.
They might have just kept them apart because they want to keep them both as stars. Maybe sometimes they try to avoid them, because one of them could put an end to one of the others. I don't know. It might be politics. It might be something behind the scenes. Do they know each other? Are they friends? I don't know. I don't know anything about the relationship. But yeah, it's a strange one because that could fill a stadium over there. Cool, absolutely no problem.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully they don't have the same thing with Nakatani and Inoue, because they look like they're on a collision course. But hopefully that doesn't come into it, where they're from the same country and they won't fight each other.
I think they will fight eventually.
Yeah,
I think they will fight eventually.
Yeah.
So, who's your performance of the week, boys? Performance of the weekend. Where does your performance go to? The kudos.
I'll let you go first, Jay. Who are you thinking?
Aaron McKenna.
Wow. I'm torn between the two. Chris Eubank Jr. with what happened to him, getting him down to the weight and that, and going through to the end. But I did think Aaron McKenna. I thought that was a great performance, boxing performance.
I think the reason I've gone with Aaron McKenna is because we didn't know what to expect from either of them, Liam or Aaron. Whereas we knew Eubank Jr. could win that fight. It wasn't a surprise for me to win that him to win that fight. I picked him to win that fight from the second it was made, and I never waned from that. Apart from when he missed, I thought, because he missed so close, I thought, he's absolutely ruined himself to get down there, and I started to have a little chink of doubt, but I stuck with my original pick. So the fact that Aaron McKenna just won every round, we've never seen anybody do that to Liam Smith, and he's been in there with Munguia, Canelo, and he's he was in the Canelo fight until he wasn't. He was in the Munguia fight until he wasn't. No one's ever 12-0'd him. No. I had it 10-2, but the 2 rounds I gave to Beefy, I gave him because I know his brother, not because he won them. So to do that to a former world champion, on the big show as well. For me, is my fighter of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'll go for Vidal for more or less the
that
similar
was my
reasons you
yeah.
did there. Yeah,
I think it was my second choice. Yeah, it was.
I keep saying just before we do that, just come into my head now, guys. Not ring walks. Girls in the middle of the ring. What do you call them? Mine's gone blank.
Girls.
Ring girls.
It was Ed Sheeran and
what did you make of that? Yeah, Ed Sheeran, right. David Beckham.
Can I just? I'm mixed race, so no, I'm not race baiting here. My dad's black, my mum's white, right? All black people don't look the same, whoever picked them, because that Anthony Joshua look-alike look more like fucking Lennox Lewis than Joshua. Yeah. He didn't look one bit like... I mean, they got an old man in a boiler suit and a mask to look like Hopkins. I think the Ed Sheeran one looked like Ed Sheeran.
I thought it was him, to be fair. I thought it was at first. Yeah. And then,
but it was mad, wasn't it? And playing computer games. I mean, I don't know whether we're just too old, but yeah, it's not for me. I know that... I'm not a fan of half-naked girls walking. I don't think it's needed anymore. But I bet you are.
I don't want it to go down that route. That's what I'm saying. I don't want it to go down that fucking Ed Sheeran, AJ route.
Just on the computer game thing. Whoever's playing the computer games, they were all around the screens of the stadium, and had obviously 2 people in the corner with their controllers.
Mental.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was like, what? Even my son, who's 14, was like, what the fuck is this? It was people playing Street Fighter.
Yeah, I didn't see it on the broadcast, and Liam mentioned something about I hope they're not going to do more gaming, and I'm like, what are you? I didn't know what he was on about, and then afterwards I've seen it. I'm like, what the? No,
honestly, it was round all the screens with the sound on as well, and I'm like, what the
God's
fuck?
sake.
Twilight Zone is this? Yeah, it was strange. It was very
But look,
strange.
Fatal Fury sponsored the event, the sponsoring of the weekend. They've paid for that, haven't they? They've paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
But no, it was weird for me. Bring back the half-naked brasses. Sorry, female.
Do not apologise. So yeah, that was the review. I'm just going to quickly, briefly, Jay's thoughts on some great fights coming up at the weekend. Start on Friday. Times Square is the destination. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Morero. Jay, start with that one. How do you see that one going, mate?
Garcia will run through Rolly. Rolly's not that good.
No, I don't think so. No.
Every time he's stepped up, he's got beat. The best fight he's ever had is he pushed Tank-ish for 4 or 5 rounds until he got flatlined. And Pitbull's knocked him out, has he not?
Yeah, I think I'm sure he stopped in there. He's definitely beat him.
He struggled in his last fight, really. I think Garcia will make a statement. I think Garcia blows through him in 4 or 5 rounds. I think he'll knock him out.
Yeah.
But it's too quick for him.
Yeah, very quick. Devin Haney against Ramirez, mate.
Now, I've just been on our show and done a prediction, so I'm going to have to stick with my original pick. I've got a funny feeling there's going to be some kind of controversy in this fight. I think there might be a head clash, a dislocation. I see Haney getting pulled out of this fight and it going to the cards for some kind of...
Have you had a dream or something? Where have you got that from? That's a mad one.
That was Martin Luther King that said that. I mean, I know I just said my dad's black, but no. I had a dream. No, but I always get, every now and again, I get weird. Like, I got the Crocodonovan, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I always have weird feelings. I had it this weekend. And at one point, Ben looked like he elbowed Junior. I don't know if you caught it. There was a left hook and it looked like he'd pushed it. And I thought, go on, please, do that again. See if we can get a DQ at 100-1. But no, I just think that Haney's going to be real tentative, right? This is his first fight back. He's going to be real tentative. Yeah. Ramirez is a lot shorter than him. So I could see him getting up, up and under. And catching him with a head. I've just got a horrible feeling there's going to be something really weird and controversial, like a cut that stops the fight and they go to the cards, maybe. Failing that, I think Haney should UD him. I don't think he's going to stop him. He should UD him. But look, if Haney, again, has got a bit of self-doubt, because you can sue him, you can get your oar back, they can null and void the fight. Steroids don't give you skill. Steroids give you cardio or muscle or strength. He got outboxed against Ryan Garcia. He just couldn't cope with his blistering hand speed and switch hitting. If he's got any kind of hesitation, Ramirez ain't a shot fighter. He's good. And we could, it could be in for a tough night. He should UD it, but I've just got a horrible feeling we're going to get some kind of controversy in that fight, but it should be a Haney UD.
And what if talking of controversy, can you see any controversy in Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza Jr.?
No, but I think Barboza Jr. beats him.
Do you?
Yeah. I do.
I like that.
I do. I just think, look, Teo Sander Martin questioned himself, looked really shit, should have lost that fight.
Have I still got it, he said, didn't he? That's the one.
Have I still got it?
Yeah.
And he's just too involved in everything other than boxing. It's just nonsense that he spouts, and he always makes sure he's dressed weird, doesn't he, to stick out. He loves it. Instead of just concentrating on what got him to the dance, which is blistering skill and speed and footwork. And when he's on it, he's on it. But I think his day's gone. I think he is a 135er. I don't think he's a 140er. He's talked about going to 147. I don't think he's big enough. I don't think he's thick enough. And I think Barboza is on a bit of a run. I mean, I didn't think he'd get the decision against Cattrall. Even though I thought he won, I thought they were going to shit him on the decision. The old home fighter nonsense. Yeah, I've got a feeling that Barboza's going to beat him. UD.
Just on that quickly, would you have said the same if he was coming into this fight, Barbosa, off the Sean McComb fight, which we all know he didn't win?
No.
Is it because he's gone on that Ramirez,
Because
obviously beat Ramirez, and Cattrall.
Recency bias. And
Yeah.
I really like that performance against Jack Cattrall. He came to the Lions Den as the underdog, and he beat Jack at his own game. So for that reason, I think if Tio turns up, then you'd think he'd beat him, but we haven't seen Tio turn up for a couple of years now. Whereas Barbosa, the momentum's with Barbosa. So Barbosa Jr. by unanimous decision for me.
Yeah. Saturday night in Riyadh, Canelo out against William Skull. How's this one playing out, mate?
I mean, Canelo I think he'll beat him. I think
he's due a knockout, Jay, isn't he? He's due a knockout.
Yeah,
surely,
I was thinking TKO late, like between 8 and 10, sort of that end. Especially with Skull quitting on Conor Benn, he's not going to be able to deal with. Did that even ever happen? I said when Ben said
Nigel said it happened. Nigel said
it did. But what he might have failed to say is that he quit after 7.5 because he'd only scheduled to do 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There'll be something, won't there? But look, on paper and what we know about the two, Canelo should win this fight, and I'm expecting him to put a statement on. First one over there, first one as part of this new deal. I'm expecting a really good Canelo performance, and I think he'll put a statement on. I see him stopping Skull late.
The next one, I'm intrigued by this one. So when we do our preview on Thursday, I can't look forward to this one. Jaime Munguia against Bruno Siraj. What version of Munguia do we get? Do we get the same as last time, but keeping his hands up, or just Siraj? Is he just a kryptonite, mate? Where do you see this one going?
No, I think Munguia will blast him out of there in under 5 rounds this time. Yeah, I think he'll just put it on him. I think he just took his eye off the ball. You saw he kept his hands down, wasn't worried about what was coming back, and woke up. Happens to the best of them. But that's exactly what happened, didn't it? He didn't think he could get hurt, got a bit like lazy, lackluster, and woke up. I think that'll be the shot in the arm that he needs, and I think he'll just be on it from the first bell. And I think he'll get him out of there in the first half of that fight.
Yeah, I'm having premonitions, mate, like you do. With that one, it's a weird one, that one. And obviously, last season, big Martin Bakole, he's back against Efe Ajagba. He's obviously had a full camp this time, Jay. So yeah, how do you see Big Martin getting on?
Don't know. I thought Bakole all the way, but the way that Parker knocked him out with that headshot, hitting him on the top of the head, and it threw his equilibrium. Sometimes you can't recover from punches like that, getting stopped like that. Could happen to him again. And Ajagba's really long and rangy. I think Bakole will stop him, but I think he'll have to come through some fire before that. I think he might get wobbled again and have to compose himself. But I see Bakole dealing with him.
Do you see a similar performance to the Jared Hansen one, Jay?
Yeah. Where he's just walking forward, jab, right, jab, right. Just not letting him breathe. Just don't let him breathe, because if he lets Ajagba get into a rhythm, he'll just get outboxed at range.
Yeah, I agree.
Last but not least, in Sunday, T-Mobile Arena, Naoya Inoue's made the journey over to the States to put on a show for the American fans. He takes on Ramon Cardenas. Know nothing about him, Jay. How's this one going? Or was that a stupid question?
Yeah. First 6 rounds again, Inoue will just batter him, won't he? Don't know the kid. God love him. God bless him. But yeah, you're up against it, lad. The monster will put on a statement in the States, I believe.
Yeah.
When he does that, do you want MJ next? Is that the one to make MJ?
Has to be, yeah. For me, yeah. If he's not going to fight Nakatani, then it's got to be MJ. Has to be. No, we don't want to see him fight anybody else. I don't want to see him fight anybody else.
It's supposed to be David Picasso, wasn't it, originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, Inoue doing Inoue thing. So that's what we've done. 1 hour, 23 minutes. Jay, thank you ever so much for your time, mate.
Really sorry about the technical issues. I don't know what it is.
No.
Blame StreamYard. Blame StreamYard.
Yes. It's only StreamYard. It's only StreamYard. It does it. But thank you for having me, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Nice to be on with both of you this time.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you, Jay, mate. It's a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. It's good to meet you finally.
And you, man. Let's speak again soon.
Absolutely.
before we do officially go, do you want to put a shout out where people can find your handle on Twitter and Instagram and all things like that, mate?
It's at Jay's Fight Talk. So as it's spelled, JAYS, and then Fight Talk. I'm on YouTube, X. I do No Punches Pulled with Sam Walker, SW Fight Hub, and Liam Tullett on a Tuesday. We do prediction shows throughout the week. You can catch me doing shorts over on my YouTube channel. There's Liam's Fight Night Picks on my channel, and then me and Liam do Straight Talk on a Thursday night. So yeah, Jay's Fight Talk. Thank you very much.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's enough boxing content to get stuck in. It sounds like every day, literally, and it is really good. And I'm not just saying it because Jay sat there. I've asked him on for a reason. We've asked him on for a reason. Really enjoy his thoughts, opinions, and views, and his content is just as good, if not better. So get cracking over there, ladies and gentlemen. Dave, I'll see you Thursday for a preview show. Jay, we'll definitely have you back on ASAP, brother.
Anytime, boys. Thank you, man. I really enjoyed it. Anytime.
Until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Stay safe and peace out, guys.